Yeah, so obviously, yeah, talking to us about Alex Paulsen's move to Auckland. When you sold Alex to Bournemouth, was were you aware that there was ever going to be a chance he could end up in Auckland? Like, would you still have made that move knowing his first season would be spent in Auckland?
Was never intention to stop AP playing anywhere, whether that was at Auckland or Bournemouth. We were always of the opinion that AP moving on to the next stage in his career was the most important thing for him as a player and us as a club. So while him playing at Auckland was never off the cards, it's not something that we're surprised of in the fact that he's going to play there, potentially going to play there, let's say. What is surprising is the fact that the paperwork behind the scenes has not been completed before Auckland has announced the fact that he's potentially going to be playing for him. And let's just be clear, he actually at the moment cannot play for Auckland. He can play for in any APL competition. He can only play for Auckland in a New Zealand football competition. So essentially that means friendly. So that's the position that Auckland have found themselves in, which is, let's say it's a little surprising to us. We wouldn't have announced it until we'd done all the paperwork and got the I's dotted and the T's crossed. But they've made that call, and that's now with them.
So, do you, because the APL have said all clubs support amendments or the reviewing the Sirus Clause. So you are okay with that being removed? Like, what's the issue from the Phoenix point of view here?
It's no issue. We supported the overturning or the change of the amendment to the Sirus Clause, whatever it ends up being. Wellington Phoenix was, as a club, supportive of that change.
Okay, cheers.
Right. Anyone else?
Yeah, Kia ora, David. Will Toogood, New Zealand Herald here.
They will.
When were you guys, the Phoenix, made aware of Paulson's potential, as you say, move to AFC?
When were we made aware of? So just say it again, Will.
Yeah, when was it that you were made aware or became aware that the move was the potential move was happening?
We were informed of it last night, quite late last night, actually, and it was again, it wasn't necessarily that it's come through with us with plenty of time to consider it. It was quite late in the piece, and I think to be fair to APL, they've been working on this for some time with Football Australia, and trying to get some resolution to this. And the feedback from them was that they had movement on it, and then that changed at the last minute. So, look, the communications and the process has been far from ideal, but we're not in control of that. And like I say, it's now with Auckland to resolve the Caceres clause and what that means for them going forward. And we'll just get on and do what we need to do to get in preparation for the A-League.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey David, Bonnie Jackson here from News
Bonnie.
Talk. Obviously, sorry if this has been asked, I came on a bit late, but do you think this is the right move for Alex? You know him as a person, as a player. Would it have been better to see him maybe go on loan to a European club?
I mean, to be honest, there are lots of channels and lots of ways a player can develop. The most important thing for us, for the player, and indeed for the Wellington Phoenix, is that AP continues to develop. And if this was the next step for him, we're not against. I think I said at the start, we're not actually against him playing for Auckland. That's not the issue for us. It's the fact that the regulations haven't been finished in time before the announcement was made. As you know, we've sold AP to Bournemouth, and there are clauses in there that benefit the Wellington Phoenix should Alex continue to develop. And so we're 100% supportive of that, whatever that looks like. The fact that he's gone to Auckland, of course, we would have preferred he'd gone to a club outside the APL, but it is what it is. And if that means that AP continues to develop for us as a footballing nation, both for the player and for the Wellington Phoenix, and we think it's a positive thing.
Surely as well, the Phoenix are grateful they got a bit of money for Alex rather than him having a free transfer fee straight to Auckland.
Of course. So, like I say, it's the strategy for the club. We develop young players and then we move them on once they're developed, and it helps us close the financial gap for the club, and it's the best thing for the player. So in that regard, it was win-win. that's never been an issue for us with moving the players on. And the club has been very, very successful over the last 6 months in that regard, and we're very happy with how that's progressing. And AP's been one of the key figures in that this year for us.
Surely there'll be a few hurt Yellow Fever fans. What's your message to them in terms of how they go about supporting Alex, or getting behind the Phoenix in this case?
Of course, there'll be Wellington Phoenix fans who want to see the Wellington Phoenix succeed and win on the pitch. But it's great for the rivalry. It's great for football in this country. It's going to be probably a key part of that first game. AP was a fantastic Wellington Phoenix player. He'll always be a Wellington Phoenix player in our minds, even if he goes on to other clubs. So we hope that fans appreciate the service that he gave to Wellington Phoenix while he was here. And he's not targeted as such just because he's playing for Auckland, but that they support the Wellington Phoenix against Auckland, of course, but they also support AP as a player and wherever he's going, whatever he happens to do as a player.
Did you speak with Chiefy? I assume you've had a chance to speak with him. How did he react to the news?
I've spoken to Chief this morning. I think he's pretty agnostic about it. I mean, he's big enough to realise this happens in professional sports, and players move on all the time. And we've picked up players. We've made an excellent signing in Paolo Retre, which we're really, really happy about coming out of Australia. So look, I think he's realised it's happened. I don't think he's particularly upset about it or anything like that. It's the way of the world. I mean, it's not like he's going from Celtic to Rangers. It's not like he's going from Spurs to Arsenal or anything like that. It's a player who's gone on to the next step of his career, and I think we need to back AP in that it's a good thing for him. And like I say, we'll continue to work in the background and make sure we try and get these regs tidied up before the start of the season.
David, was there any talk about bringing him back to the Phoenix on loan when Bournemouth, obviously they think he still needs another season in the ALeague to develop?
Yeah, in the initial discussions with Bournemouth, that was one of the options we put to them, would be that they would purchase him off us, and then they would loan him back to us for another year for further development. That would be very tricky in a situation where we're playing essentially another Bournemouth team in the same league. So that was not something that they were interested in considering, but yeah, I mean, it was something that we were keen on, obviously.
Yeah, and because I guess by removing the Sirus Clause, you'd think Melbourne City and Auckland would have an advantage, considering you can't transfer between A-League clubs, but their parent clubs, so if you want to call them that, have the resources to sign these players and move them around. So why is the Phoenix supportive of such a move like that?
I think it's part of the ongoing development of the league is that we have to be able to move players. And again, we've got to remember the strategy of the club is to develop players and move them on. If that means moving them on to another club, which happens to be the parent of an A-League club, then so be it. I mean, the market is not awash with clubs willing to buy players out of Australia and New Zealand. So we have to facilitate that wherever possible. We're also working on changing the regs so that we can sell between A-League clubs as well. We think that's a worthwhile change, an amendment to the current regulations, and we're working with both the PFA, Football Australia and APL to change those regs, and hopefully that'll happen in due course because, again, as a selling club, as a development club, we want to develop young players and give them the opportunity to move on to other A-League clubs if that is the best case scenario for them, the best development channel for them. We have a lot of kids coming through our academy who at the moment we can't move to other Australian A-League clubs unless they're out of contract. Potentially we could move them on to A-League clubs if there was transfers between clubs.
Anything else, guys?
Hey David, it's Ben here from MediaWorks. I just had a quick question. Do you know how long the APL is going to take to review this rule and when we could see it actually implemented or turned down?
No, it's a good question, Ben. We don't know. I know, look, I can tell you it has been amongst the clubs for quite a few months now. It's not with the APL, it's actually with Football Australia. So APL has put a position to Football Australia. From my discussions with them, they thought they did have some traction with Football Australia to move relatively recently. So I think the fact that Auckland have gone out with this may have been predicated on a position that Football Australia had last week, but which subsequently changed. So you'd need to probably ask Auckland and or APL. But look, there is no timeline. I would assume that they would want to get it tidied away, as soon as possible. But we don't have any further intel on how long it's going to take. And sometimes it's very difficult when you're working with Football Australia to get timelines out of them.